Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's second video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. So today's second video, that takes us to the 1st of October, day 10 is the first day of October. So we shall see what is happening, or forecast happen, at the start of next month. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. We're into around a couple of weeks. Have a look at CFSV2, of course, at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks. So weekend forecast has been released. It's quite an interesting wash because the high pressure has dominated this September so far and brought lots of dry and warm weather, is breaking down, and it's breaking down very quickly. And in the weekend, actually, it's going to be very unsettled. There's going to be bouts of heavy rain. Could have some torrential rain on Monday night and into Tuesday morning across parts of England and Wales. And just an all-round, very autumnal week to come. So if you're ready for a bit of autumn, it's on the way, and have a look at weekend forecast, see what's going on there. Got the CFS 6 months bouquet coming up for you this evening. So that'll be with you later on today. I'll talk about what's happening tomorrow at the end of the video. But we're going to start in the tropical Atlantic, as we always do at this time of the year. So loads of interest areas. Where should we begin? We're at the National Hurricane Center for this, by the way. So where should we begin? Let's begin with this yellow X just here in the Caribbean. So that one is Disturbance 2, and it's got a 0% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours, a 0% chance of cyclone formation in the next 5 days. So it doesn't look like that's going to be doing very much at all. It will be bringing some heavy rain, though, to parts of Hispaniola, Jamaica and Cuba through this weekend. I don't think we need to worry too much about that one in terms of tropical storm or hurricane. So let's move on quickly. And we've got a couple of orange X's. So we've got this one just here in the tropical Atlantic. That one is Disturbance 1, and it's got a 50% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours and a 60% chance in the next 5 days. So this one looks a little bit more significant. They're saying a tropical wave located several hundred miles east of the Windward Islands is producing a large area of showers and thunderstorms. The wave is forecast to move quickly west to west-northwestwards, 15 to 20 miles per hour in the next day or two, crossing the Windward Islands on Sunday. Although the system is currently disorganised, environmental conditions appear to be conducive for some development, and a tropical depression could form later this weekend or early next week. A NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft is scheduled to investigate the system this afternoon. So they're going to put a plane up to have a look later. Regardless of development, heavy rainfall is possible over much of Lesser Antilles over the weekend, and interest in those islands and Puerto Rico should monitor the progress of this disturbance. That could become our next named storm. But of course, we've also got this orange X over here that you can only just make out. It's still across Africa, but it looks like this one could be very significant indeed. It's Disturbance 3 with a 40% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days, but a 90% chance, very high, in the next 5 days. With this one, they're saying a tropical wave is forecast to move off the west coast of Africa by Sunday. Environmental conditions are expected to be conducive for development, and a tropical depression or tropical storm is likely to form early next week while the wave moves westward across the eastern tropical Atlantic. So we haven't had that many storms and hurricanes actually coming out of Africa so far this season. They've tended to be developing more in the western part of the tropical Atlantic. Haven't seen all that many developing from the eastern tropical Atlantic, but it looks like this is going to be a bit of a classic, and it could well become a named storm early next week. So we've got one of these is probably going to be Karen. Will it be that one or will it be that one? And whichever one gets named second, that is likely to be Lorenzo. So Karen and Lorenzo are likely to be the next names with these tropical storms. It'll be interesting which one gets to Karen first. And then, of course, we've got Tropical Storm Jerry just here. So Jerry is currently giving maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour with a central pressure of 995 millibars, and it's moving northwestwards at 15 miles per hour. Let's click on Jerry and see what he's doing. So if we go to warnings and cone static images, we can see that the current position of Tropical Storm Jerry is just there. Jerry's going to push northwards as a tropical storm to Bermuda by the look of it through the early and middle part of next week, by which time may well get upgraded back to a Category 1 hurricane. So you might get a hurricane in Bermuda from Jerry. And then pushing further northwards, still as a Category 1 hurricane as we get through to Thursday in that sort of area. So currently Tropical Storm has been a hurricane, of course. I think it peaked at a Category 2 hurricane. Now it's a Tropical Storm. Looks like it could go back up to Category 1 hurricane status around Bermuda through the middle of next week. So Jerry is going to undergo further development next week if the forecast is correct, and then we'll be looking out for those other disturbance areas to become Karen and also potentially Lorenzo too. So all eyes will continue to be on the tropical Atlantic in the next few days. Central temperature is looking like this, coming back closer to home. So we're up to the 20th now, provisionally, with CET provisional up to yesterday, standing at 14.1 for September 2019. That's almost bang on average. It's 0.1 of a degree above average, neither particularly above or below average. So it continues to be the case that this CT is running very, very close to average. I'm not expecting a big deviation by the time I get through to the end of the month. I would expect a bit of a downwards correction from this though, so I've got a feeling we will probably finish up coming in just under 40. I think we'll probably finish up somewhere around 13.7 to possibly 13.9. That would be where I'd anticipate we're going to finish with this CT. I think we'll get quite a big downward correction this month because we've had a lot of cold nights this month. And when that happens, you do tend to find that the downward correction is a little bit larger than normal. Normally they shave off 0.1 or 0.2 of a degree, but I've got a feeling this time it might be 0.3, maybe even 0.4 of a degree that we lose. So I think high 17s is around where we'll come out. High 30s, what I'm talking about. High 13s is about where we'll come out with this September CT. This is how the 500 millibar high anomaly flow charts are looking from the Penn State University for the next week, 10 days. We've got the ECMWF on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have a look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars is an area in the absolute high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. So ECMWF in the day, sort of 7, 8, 9, 10 time frame, is placing an area of high pressure around Greenland and extending it down into the North Atlantic. That's a classic mid-Atlantic ridge, extending back to high pressure, blocking over Greenland. There's a trough of low pressure, it's quite a deep one, extending through Scandinavia and into the UK, western parts of Europe. Another area of low pressure just there. That's probably has some tropical elements within it. So with this, the jet stream and the flow will be going something a little bit like that. So it does place us on the cool side of the jet stream, probably pulling in the winds from the north at this point. And of course, with a trough of low pressure very close to us, it could be rather showery as well. So cool and showery to end September and begin October. This is how the GFS is looking. It's very similar. Again, it has this high pressure signal towards Greenland. Not as much as a mid-Atlantic ridge with this, but does have the blocking area of high pressure up towards Greenland. Then it's got the trough of low pressure that is over the UK and western parts of Europe. Another deep trough of low pressure there, probably containing tropical elements. Something like that happening with the flow and with the jet stream. So not putting quite as much cool air from the north with the GFS around the start of October, but nevertheless it still looks quite unsettled, still looks quite cool. Of course, without that mid-Atlantic ridge, actually this could be a little bit more unsettled for the first week of October, because without that mid-Atlantic ridge, there is nothing to stop this low pressure in the Atlantic from coming in with the jet stream. So the ECM is probably a cooler but drier option for the first week of October. The GFS is probably not quite as cool, but could be more unsettled, could be wetter. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. Let's go to this one at Manchester today. So it's still very warm today. There's the upper air temperatures around 15 degrees at 850 HPA. That is quite impressive for 21st of September. But it's pretty much downhill all the way from here. So by the time you get through the start of next week, we've returned back to average. And then essentially it looks like going through to the end of September, we're close to average really with those upper air temperatures. Quite a lot of scattering in the extended range through the first week of October. We have these cold outliers down here. They're not really outliers actually, there's quite a few of them. So they're really quite cold. They will probably be cold enough to produce overnight frost actually, going close to -5 at 850 HPA. That's probably in early October, cold enough to produce the first frost of the season. But on the other hand, we have these warm outliers up here. And they're really quite warm indeed for the first week of October. So quite a bit of uncertainty about that first week of October in terms of the upper air temperature. I suspect that is all being caused by the placement of the ridge of high pressure. That high pressure is around Greenland. Then we're likely to be pulling in the wind from the north. If the high pressure was to be centred over or to the south of the UK, then we could pull up some pretty warm winds from the south or the southwest. So I suspect that scatter is being caused by the uncertainty over placement of high pressure. Precipitation-wise, it looks very unsettled, certainly for the next week. Loads of rainfall spikes coming through. That's all covered by the weekend forecast, of course. But if you're waiting for some rain, and certainly my runner beans have gone a bit dry, so if your garden's waiting for some rain, there is rain on the way for all of us in the next few days. Let's go through the first week of October. Quite a few precipitation spikes even then, so it's not guaranteed, but we're going to build in high pressure through the first week of October. It does seem to be quite a bit of uncertainty about this first week of October, no doubt being caused by the development of those tropical systems down in the tropical Atlantic Ocean. Temperature anomalies from the 21st to 29th of September are a bit warmer than average. It remains a rather mild scene, not just of the UK, but through many parts of Europe too. Precipitation anomalies look wetter than average. This is quite a big change on what we've had with these anomaly maps in September so far. So this is for the 21st, 29th of September, and it looks wetter than average now for the UK and for Ireland as well. Big changes ahead in the week ahead. So that's how the GFS is looking for Tuesday. Now on Tuesday we could have a real deluge in the south. It doesn't look like much on the chart here, but this elongation in the isobars just here is telling us that there's an active weather system coming in overnight Monday and into Tuesday, and that could produce a real deluge on Tuesday morning across parts of England and Wales, all being driven in by this main area of low pressures out to our west. That one, of course, contains the remains of Hurricane Humberto. So we go through next week, and it's a very unsettled week. Next week, low pressure is going to be very close to the country throughout the week, bringing showers or longer spells of rain as it drifts in from the Atlantic, parks itself over the top of the UK. We can expect lots of unsettled weather to come. And then we're heading to next weekend. We keep it unsettled on Saturday with low pressure over the top of the country. But by Sunday, that low pressure is beginning to move away to our east. And that starts to pull down those colder winds from the north. So certainly having a go at turning wind into the north there by the time you get through to the end of next weekend. Notice high pressure is up around Greenland. Low pressure's through here, and the squeeze of the isobars between the two starting to pull down some really quite cold air from the north. However, we've got this low pressure in the Atlantic, and that's trying to bring milder winds back in from the west. That explains the uncertainty and the scatter within the GFS ensembles this first week of October. Now, what this particular GFS run does starts to move the low pressure back in from off the Atlantic. So we only get a brief sort of northerly outbreak, and then winds start to turn back to west-southwest again by day 10. That is Tuesday the 1st of October. Cloud and rain spreading in across the country. And the main sort of cold shot is plunging down into Scandinavia and northeastern parts of Europe. By the way, notice that we've got the remains of another tropical storm or hurricane down there in the bottom left of the chart as you're looking at it. In the more extended range, we do build up a bit of high pressure here through the first days of October, so that turns a bit drier and warmer. However, it doesn't last long. We actually finish up powering up the Atlantic a little bit, actually, by the end of this GFS run. Gets us to Monday, the 7th of October. It's a very long way out, over 2 weeks away. But we're powering up westerlies there. That's going into a proper westerly type pattern. Could be a little bit stormy up across the northern parts of the country. That's how the GEM is looking for Tuesday. So again, the idea is that next week is turning increasingly unsettled with quite a lot of rain to come. Low pressure pushing in off the Atlantic through the week, bringing showers, if not longer spells of rain. Notice quite an extensive blocking signal up over Greenland as well with the GEM. Then we go up towards day 10 and we start to pull down these cold and northerly winds here for the end of September. And that's how we look as we get to day 10 itself, which is Tuesday the 1st of October. Again, we've got cold northerly winds, or quite cold northerly winds, pushing down through Scandinavia. We've got high pressure blocking over Greenland. Low pressure in the Atlantic. That's going to try and push rain back in from the west. And notice, again, some sort of tropical storm or hurricane type feature down there, the remains of it anyway. And then the ECMWF looks like that. So again, very, very unsettled on Tuesday. Could be a deluge and staying unsettled through much of next week. There's the remains of, I think that would probably be Jerry, just there on Thursday. That's the remains of what has been and could become again Hurricane Jerry in the North Atlantic on Thursday. We're in that westerly flow with this area of low pressure just here. Then heading up towards next weekend, staying unsettled. Low pressure is churning away. And look at that feature down there. That is the remains of either Karen or Lorenzo. Just there. We're going into kind of like a northerly pattern by the time we get through towards or up towards day 10. A little bit more of a northerly with the ECM compared to what the GFS is showing actually. So this is pulling in a proper sort of swipe of cold air from the north. Let's have a quick look at the upper air temperatures with that. So that's how they're looking. So it is turning a lot cooler in the northern part of the country. When you get this 0 Celsius ice firm pushing through, at this time of year, that's normally going to be enough to produce night frost, certainly for the northern part of the country. And then we go through to day 10 with the ECM, which looks like that. So then the high pressure begins to topple in from the west, but still pulling in the wind from the north or slightly northeasterly direction. Have a look at the upper air temperatures at day 10. So we're all within the 0 Celsius ice firm. They're actually bringing the -5 Celsius ice firm close to northern parts of Scotland. That's probably enough to turn showers wintry over the Scottish mountains and maybe into lower levels from the far north of Scotland. More significantly would probably be the risk of night frost, I would have thought, for the first days of October as this high pressure topples down across the country. That could definitely give us a couple of really quite cold nights, I think, through early October. And I definitely wouldn't be ruling out the chance of our first sort of frost of the season. And again, we've either got the remains of Karen or Lorenzo just there. Looks like a very significant feature is heading towards the Azores. These are the options that are on the table within the ECM ensembles today at day 10, which is the first day of October. So have 22 members of the ECM, it's from the Icelandic Met Office by the way, have 22 members of the ECM ensembles, including the control and the operational run. The operational run is the run we're just looking at, that have this mid-Atlantic ridge extending back towards Greenland blocking. And low pressure with this deep trough to our east, pulling in those cold winds from a north or northeasterly direction. 16 members of the ECM ensembles with above average heights to our south and also towards Greenland. They're much flatter, bringing the wind from the west. Could be a little bit unsettled, but quite a lot milder. And then we have 13 members of the ECM ensembles just with high pressure sitting over the top of the country, probably within quite cool air, but I think with those probably still bringing the wind from a northerly direction. So it does look as though the beginning of October could be relatively dry, actually. We could go into a drier couple of days early October, but potentially quite cold. Wouldn't rule out the chance of our first proper frost of the season through the first week of October. And then we go through the first days of October, or the first nights of October, I should say. Then we go through to 2 weeks away, which is the 6th of October. It's 360 hours away. It's over 2 weeks. These are the options, but we've got lots of them. 13 with high pressure out to our west. They're mainly dry. Settled 10 with high pressure to our southwest. Low pressure to our northeast. They're rather cool, potentially a little bit cold and showery. 9 with high pressure right over top of the country. They're mainly dry, probably quite chilly. Remember, in October, high pressure isn't guaranteed to bring particularly warm weather. Depends on the exact origins of the air, where that high pressure is formed from, as to whether it will be a warm high or even quite a cold high. You can get night frost in October from high pressure. We've got 7 just here that are very unsettled. Low pressure is over top of the country. Another 7 with low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south. They're bringing up mild west to southwest winds. And then 5 with low pressure south of Greenland and what looks like a fairly big Scandinavian high, bringing in more of an easterly type flow. So loads of options on the table in 2 weeks' time, and I suspect again that the uncertainty there is caused by the placement of all of the tropical developments. I think reading between the lines, though, we could have a relatively cool start to October here. And again, I wouldn't totally rule out the chance of our first frost of the season in the first night or two of October, which is quite early compared to recent years. We've tended to have to wait quite a long while, often even into November, to get our first frost of the season. So if we do start to get our first proper frosty nights, of course, have ground frost during this September, but if we do start to get our first proper frosty nights of the season during those first 2 or 3 nights of October, that will be very early compared to more recent years, I think. Finally, this Albus V2 is looking for the next 4 weeks. These are 500 millibar heights broken down to week periods. The first week period takes from 21st, 27th of September. The coming week looks unsettled. Low pressure is over to west of the country. We've got northern blocking up here. Jet streams being pushed southwards. So all change compared to what we've had up to the final week of September, which has been mainly warm and dry. It's all changed on that, much cooler, much more unsettled. This is week 2. It's 28th of September to 4th of October. Looks cooler and unsettled again. Look at all this northern blocking up towards Greenland and over towards the Canadian side of Greenland. We're under a trough of low pressure, so we look unsettled, and we will be pulling in some quite cool air, I think, into that trough of low pressure as well. Then we're up to week 3, which is the 5th to the 11th of October. Then above average heights are building in across the country. Low pressure is up there and over there. Remember, we're not guaranteed to be overly warm with high pressure in October. And because it's quite cool and unsettled before that ridge builds in, that could be quite a chilly ridge, actually. So it may be relatively pleasant by day in the sunshine, but by night could be a little bit on the cold side. And then, if anything, the high pressure just strengthens as we go through to the 12th to the 18th of October. We are back under high pressure big time. Large area of high pressure centred over top of the country. Low pressure is up here. Again, it might not be overly warm with that area of high pressure. If we looked at the temperature anomalies from the CFS, which we're not going to, I suspect it would show significantly warmer than average under that ridge. But it's not as clear cut as that in October under high pressure. So there's quite a lot going on in the next week and a week to 10 days. We're going to be unsettled next week, showers or longer spells of rain, and then as we go towards the beginning of October, possibly starting to build some higher pressure back in, but it could be relatively cool under that high pressure. Wouldn't totally rule out the chance of our first frost of season, perhaps in the opening night or two of October. We shall see about that. Right, got the CFS 6-month lookout coming up for you this evening. That'll be around 6-7 o'clock. That's going from next month, from October right way through to March. It's just for fun, just have a laugh at it. But we'll see what CFS is showing for the next few months this evening. Tomorrow, well, we're going to have the 4th Winter 2019-2020 update, so that's going to be a pretty interesting watch, hopefully. And also, of course, have a live chat about that on the YouTube channel between 5 and 6 o'clock. So we'll see what you thought, or we'll see what you think. 2 Winter update tomorrow evening between 5 and 6 on YouTube. And between the two, the morning and the evening sort of broadcast, we'll have the ECMWF, DWD and Meteo France long range update. That'll be released sometime in the middle of the afternoon tomorrow. So a lot happening at the website over this weekend. Do keep checking back to all of the updates and to the channel as well, of course. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.